There are five basic tastes. You've probably heard of them: sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami. But there's an incredibly vast world of food and flavors. So what exactly is flavor? And can I, just a regular guy, really figure out how to understand and enjoy food even more than I do? So I talked to some experts, and it turns out that I can. And so can you. But you have to start somewhere. I'm Evan Young, and this is Fever for Flavor. I have a wicked sweet tooth. As a kid, I'd take every single quarter or dollar I earned from raking the neighbors' leaves, and I'd cut through the woods down the street. On the other side was an Acme. There was a Ritz theater, which is where I saw Tim Burton's Batman 4 times in the summer of '89, and a 7-Eleven. At the Sev, the money would get spent on exactly two things: a Gauntlet arcade game, where the warrior was my character of choice, and giant chewy Sweet Tarts. My sweet tooth was insatiable as a kid. I once stuffed an entire vanilla Charleston Chew into my mouth and I could barely breathe. Another time, I was randomly rummaging through my brother's bureau and came upon the Hubba Bubba he'd been judiciously saving, chewing periodically for himself only as a treat. And me, like some sugar-starved kid in a candy desert, I shoved that entire pack of gum straight into my mouth. In my 20s, I ate a Halloween-sized bag of Reese's peanut butter cups in a 24-hour span, like 3,000 calories worth. And even now, as a much older man with a presumption of self-control, I find it challenging to resist the treat. Our family loves cake, ice cream, and pretty much every other dessert we can get our hands on. And when we go to the movies, I get Milk Duds, I get Junior Mints, Raisinets, and sometimes I'll add a cherry Pepsi Icy to boot. Every Christmas morning, I make homemade cinnamon buns from scratch. So yeah, this is pretty much how we live in this house. So hunting down Eric Berley, the co-owner of Franklin Fountain and Chain Confectionary, was like a big game safari for me. Franklin Fountain is unquestionably a Hall of Fame-worthy landmark of ice cream in Philadelphia, if not the entire country. The meticulously crafted ice cream parlor and soda shop has been dishing out wonder for over 20 years. Eric agreed to talk to me, so we set up in this new space he has called the Cacao Pod on Market Street, full of church pews and a chocolate roaster, and we talked about nostalgia, old-fashioned lemon ice cream, how to create an authentic and unforgettable experience for your guests, and more. That's all coming up next on Fever for Flavor. Eric, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me in here. First of all, this space is amazing. I can't wait to talk about what you're doing here, what your plans are for it.
Welcome, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You're such a well-known entity. I think the Franklin Fountain and Chain Confectionary, I would imagine most people in Philadelphia have been here at some point. You've been around for a really long time. One of the very first dates that my now wife and I ever went on when we were first dating was to the Franklin Fountain. So, and I can even tell you what I got. I got a mint chocolate chip sundae.
Franklin Mint.
Is that what it was? Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah,
It was called
marshmallow, chocolate syrup, whipped cream, green cherry.
Yeah. My go-to whenever I get ice cream, it's, my kids will tell you, is mint chocolate chip. So yeah, it was right in the wheelhouse. So thank you. You helped create a memory for me and my wife.
That's really special. Making memories, having a date place, having children, it's all good. It's all part of the wholesomeness that we're sort of about here.
Yeah. And I have questions about all those things, but I am curious about flavor, but particularly for you and what you do through your businesses. What role do you believe that nostalgia plays in what our perception of flavor is? And then in particular for you, I feel like history is such an important part, I think, of what you do here. So can you talk to me a little bit about what you feel like nostalgia does in terms of how people enjoy the things that you serve?
I also grew up with mint chip as my home flavor, so to speak. Getting it at the Dairy Queen on Route 3 and getting it as a blizzard, which was really exciting. As a 15-year-old on a bike, I felt like complete freedom and complete bliss every time I had that, with the idea of trying to bring people back to their childhood memories. We've had to balance our brand, i.e. old-fashioned flavors, with modern tastes, and we've had to we have what's called a flavor, like a rubric, a product rubric by brand, and we kind of rank the products based on sort of historical precedent. For instance, lemon ice cream, which is not really a known ice cream in the supermarket today, was historically one of the first ice creams in the 18th and 19th centuries. So we've brought that back, but we've become a little more playful with it. Now it's got a black raspberry swirl and lemon shortbread chunks in that. So in some ways, we're pushing people into realms that they never grew up with, but perhaps their ancestors did. And I think we're pretty conscious about the role that people's emotional connections to their childhood means when it comes to flavors. We basically have two brands, largely Shane Confectionary, this wonderful chocolate and candy emporium, and then the Franklin Fountain and Franklin Ice Cream brand and Franklin Ice Cream Bar. And we found some really interesting synergies between the two brands, and it kind of keeps it interesting for us, because we end up finding sort of what's our next frontier, product-wise or flavor-wise, is sometimes the dance between the brands. As an example, getting into making homemade chocolate really opened up the marriage between the brands by creating a shop called the Franklin Ice Cream Bar, where we're making homemade ice cream and then dipping it in our homemade chocolate. And so as a company, it creates this playfulness, or a wider scope, still remaining classic flavors, still remaining nostalgic, like an ice cream bar, but trying to make it an experience. So the ice cream bar has a space where you can basically choose your toppings on top of the ice cream bar, choose your ice cream, choose your dip, and it's sort of like a sundae on a stick.
Do you feel like that there's constantly a bit of a push and pull between modern and contemporary, and getting people introduced to flavors that they could be thinking about in a different way versus historical? Like you mentioned lemon ice cream maybe being something that you've reached back into the past. Is there a push-pull there? Are you trying to kind of create but also, pay homage?
Yeah, I mean, like the experience coming downtown here on this first block of Market Street, it's by nature kind of immersive, walking on actual bricks to come into the store. You're already in the mindset for anticipating a visual experience, a sensory one, maybe smelling waffle cones, baking on the second floor at the candy shop, maybe chocolate roasting, maybe it's blueberries being cooked, or all these flavors that are happening on the block every day. And you're kind of like set up for expectations of a comfort food. And I think for us, to keep it interesting, we've expanded into ideas often staying rooted in something that's classic. For instance, my first ice cream maker, she was amazing, Sweet Chew. She introduced me to matcha. We visited tea in Chinatown, like tea cellars, and like learning about gunpowder matcha and all these other types of teas. And she would drink hot tea while she was making ice cream in July. And it was like a whole, like to think, well, why are you drinking hot tea? It's a really hot, it's like 91 today. It's really hot today. Now we're making not only green tea ice cream, and have been for many years, but then we were saying, well, why don't we try it as an ice cream bar and then dip it in strawberry white chocolate? So that matcha work sort of spawned into not just a white chocolate bar with crispy rice in it, but also a panned mochi, green tea white chocolate panned mochi piece. So even with just that one ice cream or that one ingredient, matcha, we've now kind of got these styles of confectionery that it can sort of turn into.
Yeah. So my wife is half Okinawa, and she grew up in Hawaii, and she's crazy about matcha. She's always the one who's going to reach for the, a green tea mochi or something like that. And my kids are really into it. I mean, I love the way that bitter kind of lends itself complexity when you infuse it into a thing. But matcha, I struggle with just as a flavor, but that's just me.
A lot of people don't expect bitter to be on an ice cream flavor menu. Yeah. But that's actually where this lemon black raspberry lemon shortbread cookie ice cream falls into the sour. It's the only sour ice cream flavor that we make. And like noticeably sour is kind of first over sweetness. And it's that balance of sweet and bitter with the matcha that is going to be where you want it to be.
You also mentioned people walking on the cobblestones, and for what it's worth, we're getting the cobblestones worked on right outside right now. So yeah, no, it's interesting. But you know what's cool about matcha too? And I think matcha also has a visual component to it, right?
Yes.
Like it's an unmistakable kind of pale green color. And I assume maybe you also work with a complete presentation, because everything that you do can be so colorful and so vibrant, so interesting. So I think matcha is kind of unique in that regard, right? It's got some bitterness.
The color of matcha blows me away. Some of the higher grades get almost neon green.
Oh, really?
And we are just absolutely blown away in the very beginning. But now after melanging, it kind of becomes more of a muted green, like more vegetal, I guess I would say. But I'm always so excited when I can experience something that's actually in nature, just the way it is, but it's more beautiful than I could have ever imagined. Or there's the best flavor in a blueberry that I could have ever tasted. Those are the moments that kind of keep you going. Yeah. And you're like, that is really special. And it's hard to translate that, but it does keep you going, keeps your ticker going.
Yeah. So when people come into one of your shops, do you feel like, do you have to have kind of a baseline set of offerings to them that just are the vanilla and chocolate expectations that you know, and then to what degree do you have to satisfy that, if at all, or do you want to try to push them into these other places, and how do you do that?
Yeah, the question of shoulds. You can get into trouble with that. I also know that we came up with a flavor list before opening the shop, like almost a year in advance. Basically, we were told, you have to have butter pecan in Philadelphia. And that was coming from a South Jersey ice cream mentor who sells and repairs all of the soft serve machines for Rita's Water Ice, for instance. So he's an industry guy. He knew that we had to have a number of flavors, and we were told we would be crazy not to have certain flavors. But honestly, like, my ice cream mentor is from Canada, and so his big flavor is maple walnut, and so therefore I carry maple walnut on the menu. And it's not because someone in Philly shoulded me into it, but because of my personal connection there. Other flavors like tea berry gum ice cream, it is kind of a locavore flavor up in sort of coal country. I would pin it as Pennsylvania, and people sort of were reminded of tea berry gum of when they were going to the 5 and 10 store growing up in like this, maybe growing up in the 60s or 50s. We have enough years behind us, 21 summers, that we've sort of seen generally where the flavors sell by like ratio. But when we made a cookies and cream ice cream, we wanted to use the cookie that our grandmother had at her house, which was Hydrox instead of Oreo. And so we're kind of like, we're kind of saying, like, if we're going to dance in that flavor and the customers want the flavor and it's going to sell like as our fourth best flavor, we're going to have to insert some level of our own authenticity into this discussion. So it makes it unique to us. And it's like, all right, if we're going to do cookies and cream, it's going to be our cookies and cream. And we get Hydrox cookie, which is, in our opinion, better for making it into an ice cream than sourcing Oreo, which pretty much most shops do.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I feel like Hydrox, if you want to start like an immediate fight over the Oreo style sandwich, you can say Hydrox are better. I don't know. I'm not sure how many people are going to tell you that, but I totally get what you're saying. Like
most people have never had Hydrox, so they don't really they don't have a dog in this fight because they've actually never had the Hydrox to even say one is better than the other.
Yeah.
And most people aren't that nuanced about their sweets either.
Well, the reality I think there is that it's just different, right? And so if you've been eating cooked Oreos your whole life and you throw a Hydrox in the mix, people are going to be like, because it's not exactly the same. It's in the same family. You said something about butter pecan. I had no idea that was like a loco regional kind of flavor.
It's not local. It's
not. Okay.
It's I would say it's national.
Okay.
So like the Haagen-Dazs has a butter pecan.
Okay.
It's a well-known national flavor.
Yeah. So in retrospect, do you think that advice that you got ended up turning out to be true just for that and other flavors?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think that was excellent advice. The actual product in the cabinets in 2004 are very different than here in 2025 because of the fact that now we're homemaking everything. In the beginning, we weren't. We were buying products, and the flavors have evolved. Now we have a caramel swirl in our butter pecan, as opposed to like an artificial flavoring as a backdrop. So it's different. We do things. We kind of keep thinking about, is the pistachio chunk kind of soggy? Yeah, it kind of is. Or the quality of the pistachio is going down with the supplier. Let's see if they have other one. So now we're candying even higher quality pistachios in our pistachio ice cream. People are on the block trying to order it for wholesale purposes and open up other pistachio ice cream shops here on the block. Literally, it's amazing when you invest into quality and you kind of don't give up. It just keeps kind of growing, an interest, reason for talking. People just come for their one flavor.
Yeah.
Even though we've created dozens and dozens of menu items, product experiences you can have, a lot of people just want to come for their one experience, their one cone experience, or their one ice cream in a cup.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's a concept in marketing that's just, do one thing and do it really well. But I don't know. I mean, it would be tough for people to find their one flavor unless you offered them a bit more of an expansive, menu or palette to choose from.
Right. And we offer 3 free samples per visit. So if that's 365 days,
that's a lot of flavors.
You could pretty easily try just about everything in short order.
Yeah. I don't know if obsessed is the right word, but you're clearly thinking about flavor constantly, obviously, right? So
flavor's one element, right? Texture's another.
Okay.
Developing flavor with ice cream and developing flavor in bonbons or in chocolate all have different parameters and opportunities to build flavor.
Yeah. Is there a way that you, in your brain, conceptualize it when you're putting something together, for example? I mean, is it visual? Is it memory? I saw a notebook before, and clearly you're a note taker. I mean, is it words on a page? I mean, how do you actually, how does it work in your brain?
Well, we have a very collective process that's creative as a team. And while it of course, it has to start with inspiration. And it can come from a customer, it can come from a staff member, it can come from a manager, it can come from a bookkeeper. And all great ideas come from everywhere. Yeah. So I would just say remaining open is really an important practice in creativity. There's this, craze of Dubai chocolate, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
There's this huge craze, and we've been holding back from. It's like the pumpkin latte in August, right? No, not yet, not yet. Yeah. We're gonna hold fast. Don't do it. There's part of me that's no, we're not gonna do it. And then of course, last week I had this. I thought, maybe if we did it as an ice cream bar, I just sent it out to the staff just to get feedback. It would require sourcing a new product like this phyllo dough and testing it. And it's also not the right time of the year to launch a new product. So we have quarterly product meetings, and so we try to think how much time to R&D this for the next 3 months. And we try to be like fairly like regular with our meeting, our ideas, what worked, have our notes from last year. Oh, that pina colada ice cream bar that we made 24 of, sold out in 2 days. Maybe we make 36 next year. Maybe we push that a little bit. Or why did we even have that in the first place? Well, we had this extra passion fruit concentrate from a run of bonbons that we were trying to use up. And it ends up being kind of like creativity in a collective group of artists. And sometimes that's frustrating and sometimes that's fun.
Yeah. Clearly there's art and creativity at the core of everything that I think you're talking about. Arguably, or maybe inarguably, in Philadelphia, as far as ice cream shops go, I think you're offering the most experiential place I think people could come and visit, right? You compare your, the Franklin Fountain to, your average ice cream place. Like, I think there's an awesome experience to come into your place, and you guys clearly focused so heavily on that.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome. How much of that has started, even in its early conceptual phase, by design, and how much of that has sort of grown and evolved along the way? I mean, has it always been just a cornerstone of what you feel like you're offering?
We knew from the beginning it had to be an experience, and that service, product, and ambiance. Ryan and I, my brother, who co-founded Franklin Fountain, we both of us loved show and tell. Ryan got me into reenacting war, and I was a Civil War drummer in high school and really like dressing the part. So almost everything was living history in our house growing up. We, our mother and father restored a Victorian farmhouse and media. And so the dining room was like, I'm not saying it was Downton Abbey, but you know what I mean? Like, it was experiential. You're immersed into like the family china and the how we go about, like how we're doing a family reunion is at walking the fields at Gettysburg.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of how we think about anything.
Yeah.
What we've learned is that there's many, many other experiences that are just as valid. And when we went to 9 chocolate factories on the West Coast and we were getting deeper into chocolate in 2018, what I came away from that trip understanding was that there's a million ways to make chocolate taste great. Making it into an experience, there's a lot of ways to do that too.
It's interesting because that does segue into a question that I had for you. And that's, to me, ice cream feels like, and even chocolate that you just mentioned, feels like something that is inescapably itself. There's got to be some part or portion of an experience of eating ice cream when you're out that I think just has to be there. Is there, in your mind, as far as ice cream or confections or chocolate or any of it that you offer goes, is there some to be yet determined, undiscovered country? And what do you think it might be? I mean, if you look 10, 15 years into the future, I mean, do you try to do that? Do you try to prognosticate? Do you try to stay ahead and think about like, okay, this is what we feel like ice cream needs to be or chocolate needs to be, but this is where we feel like it can still go?
Well, I'll tell you a failure story. It's not a big one, but there a few years ago there was this ruby chocolate, which was a very unique product on the market. They were kind of bringing this sort of unicorn into the chocolate space. It was kind of fruity. It was nice. It was sweet, but that's kind of what it was. It was just one little tool in the toolbox of many, many tools. It could be nice for this visual reason. It can be nice for that flavor reason. That kind of inspired us to play around more actually with flavored white chocolates ourselves. And so we were playing with dehydrated like fruit powders and adding it into homemade white chocolate and then dipping it as a dip on an ice cream bar. And it was kind of like ahead of its time. People didn't get it. We couldn't move through those little bars. We made these little half-ounce bars, sold them as chains. We could not, I mean, I'm not saying we were giving them away, but we couldn't really get people on board with fruit-flavored white chocolate. And within that, you can sort of begin to move beyond what the definitions of chocolate are. And you're using other types of beans that aren't even cocoa beans, or you substitute vegetable oils for cocoa butter as an example. That's some debatable space, but like creating completely new definitions of sweets and confections, I think there's a lot of play there. You can create peanut butter cups with some kind of oat-based carob product that can taste really good and delicious. Is it chocolate? I would try to stay calling things for what they are. I would say, given the price of cocoa right now, that may be our future of what people actually call chocolate and what actually is chocolate by definition.
Do you think you would ever have to worry about getting fact-checked by purists that come through the door?
Well, we are purists, and we do get fact-checked.
Yeah.
And there are people that only want chocolate to include cocoa beans and sugar. Those are the those are the absolute purists.
Okay.
And the absolute purists would say that we aren't the purists because we might add cocoa butter. And then more recently, in the last year and a half, we've added soy lecithin. It's an all-natural ingredient. We're careful about the sourcing of where it comes from. But again, the ultra purists would say that's not real. Now there's a percentage that's allowed in the definition of chocolate to have soy lecithin. That's why when you look at the back of an ingredient label, it'll say that often because they're industrial companies. But I think the general public doesn't understand scale. We're talking about 19th century building, an artisan shop that we've just found we needed that for pragmatic reasons. It helps us serve our guests better. It doesn't matter to us, and it doesn't really matter to our guests either. What matters are these forms that we've highlighted, like the buttercreams and the chocolate bar. The variety of flavors of chocolates that we offer, our historic cookie line, that it's all fresh and that it's all made with loving hands with great products, great ingredients.
I think you clearly have an eye for the viscerality of a place like this and the decor and what that means to the overall experience, I think, rooted in the history that you've got here. I mean, it's all creates like a really fascinating and very unique and fun package. But to just talk about this space for a second, like this space that we're in, super cool. Where did all this come from? Is this find this and install it? Has this been here forever? And I mean, the table here for people who can't see it.
We're seated at the Cacao Pod, and this was a sushi bar. About 5 years ago, we purchased the building, my brother and I. Ryan, among his passions include architectural salvage, antique salvage. So like the wainscoting, the walls came from an old church that was in a old barn in Newtown Square, and we pulled that out, kept it in storage for many years. The church pew that you're seated on, that came from Wallingford Presbyterian Church. They were having basically a pew sale, so I was at a strawberry festival there, and I thought this would kind of match and go well in the space. The soda fountain, that was an old one from around the turn of the century. Essentially, the Cacao Pod is going to be a private event space where people can have parties, and our staff will do ice cream service as well as hot chocolate parties. And we're going to serve our hot chocolate in like turn of the century Limoges ware to make it more of an experience that one could be transported how drinking chocolate used to be served.
Huh. That's very cool. Somebody of a certain mindset could say, okay, this is what I want to do. This is how I want it to look. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get it all fabricated and try to make it look like some approximation of the pictures that I've seen versus what you just described, which is literally going out across the area and the region and finding these things and putting it all together in a way that I think the authenticism is, you can't beat that, right?
What I'm really excited about the space, in addition to private events and cocoa roasting, is working with Historic Philadelphia, the tour guides, the folks that handled Betsy Ross House and other historic sites. We're partnering on a historic confectionery tour focused on chocolate and gingerbread and candy. And it's going to be starting here. And there'll be a ticketed and tasting experience. And then next spring and summer, we're going to do a soda and ice cream tour. So we're going to start here in the space. You're going to get our homemade root beer, and you're going to learn about Charles Hires, who invented root beer, coming over from South Jersey, learning about medicinal root teas, and finishing in the ice cream bar with ice cream. Yeah. So we're hoping to be able to include the general public in ways to engage, learn about the history, and have some fun with it.
That sounds just absolutely fabulous. I mean, that sounds like an amazing time. Who would not want to do something like that? One last quick aside question. So drinking chocolate, my only actual exposure to what I feel like I've heard referred to as drinking chocolate was in Spain. Mm-hmm. So is what you're talking about kind of, and what I had in Madrid with the, chocolate and churros.
Yes,
like that's, so is that is drinking chocolate, and it's like much different than hot chocolate, what we call it? Yeah.
So there's a continuum of what people call drinking chocolate, I think, and a lot has to do with texture.
Mm-hmm. It's like very thick. It's very viscous. Right?
Like almost spoon-like, and you drizzle it over the churros. I too had an opportunity to visit one of those historic chocolate houses and churros. Fantastic. Yeah. Ours wouldn't be quite that thick, but essentially what it is not is Swiss Miss, and it's not a cocoa-only based liquid drink. Mm-hmm. Ours uses real chocolate. It's chopped into sort of fine granules. Mm-hmm. It has some cocoa powders. It has some sugar. It's got real chocolate, either dark chocolate or dark and milk chocolate. And we've got like a spicy chocolate that we can offer.
That's my favorite.
That's a great drink. You can kind of like create ratios. But it is filling. There's fat in chocolate, and that's cocoa butter. Mm-hmm. So that's what makes it special.
So now I feel like this question is going to be different for you because you're so focused in sweet, I think, but you talked about sour. I mean, you talked about bitter too. If I had to say to you, okay, you are now going to live the rest of your life without one of those 5 sort of categories of taste, sweet, sour, salty, bitter, umami, I have to take that away for the rest of your life. Which one are you going to choose? And why do you think you might choose that one?
That's a good question. I would maybe choose sour. I'm not a big fan of Sour Patch Kids. Is kind of what my first thought of sour is. Sure. Yeah. And umami is one of those things I have to think about. Umami is one of those beautiful things in life that we take for granted, but we don't realize how much better life is with umami. But it's also it's not on the forefront of my consciousness either.
Yeah, I can't imagine in terms of your model here and everything you guys serve that umami is super important in the overall like kind of flavor landscape of what you got, right?
Yeah, I tried persimmon by biting into it directly in San Francisco, and I thought, man, I didn't know what astringency tasted like until I just took a raw bite of a persimmon.
Yeah.
And because during the chocolate flavor tastings, that's one of the notes of when you're tasting chocolate. Is there an element of astringency during the kind of like the flavor ride when you're tasting it?
Yeah.
And I can't say that I love astringency, if that's what it is.
Yeah.
Either.
Yeah. Yeah. It sucks the moisture out of your tongue and lips, it feels like.
Is it related to bitterness? What is it? Is it its own?
Man, that's going to be a homework assignment.
Is it the sixth sense?
Yeah.
I don't. I also don't want that one.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, we'll do the research on that. Maybe we'll follow up. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Evan.
Eric, thank you so much.
Great
Super
to have
cool
you here.
Conversation. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for letting me come in. Thank you for joining us on Fever for Flavor, a weekly podcast hosted by me, Evan Young, and produced by Studio D Podcast Production. If you want more content, go to feverforflavor.com. That's fever, the number 4, flavor.com. Feel free to email us at podcast@feverforflavor.com and follow us on Instagram @feverforflavor. Again, that's fever, the number 4, flavor. If you'd like to support Fever for Flavor, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. All you have to do is open up the podcast app on your phone, look for Fever for Flavor, scroll down until you see Write a Review, and tell us what you think. Join me next week as we continue to explore the world of food and flavors here on Fever for Flavor.